Oh, here we go. We live with another one, man. The first show we did the other day with Coach Fulton and Coach Private, that was actually pretty good. We got over 1,000 views on that, so um, I think that was pretty good. Today I thought it would be good, and I'm glad I was able to get the time to talk to him. But before we bring him on, I want to give a big shout out to Coach Dunbar, Breakthrough Elite 7v7 summer passing league that they have coming up. So definitely check that out. That's going to be over at Conley Field. Big shout out to Emerson Kilgore, 401 Strength and Fitness, and big shout out to Mock Wright, Coldwell Bank of Coastal Homes. Also big shout out to Potty Rock Limo. Another small company coming up in Rhode Island, and we always got to show love to the Rhode Island teams. Today I actually met him from the Seahawks, MG Bear, Westerly Bulldogs Pee Wee football. They actually had some equipment, and they said, "Mikey, can you find a home for this?" And I was thinking, who can use it? And I like what the Seahawks does. They don't charge registration, so he came all the way up to Westerly today, met me at the Pee Wee field, and we had 20 bags of pants, practice pants, pads, all kinds of stuff. So big shout out to Westerly Pee Wee football, Joe Vaca, Mike Garofolo for doing that. Coach McCormack, another Westerly guy. What's up, Coach?
What's going on, Mike?
All right, welcome back. Welcome back again, man. You've been very busy, so it was tough to be able to get you to get this 30 minutes with you. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, Westerly Pee Wee football. You actually know Joe Vaca, Mike Garofolo, and them guys. That was they're always willing to give whatever they can to other organizations.
Yeah, they do a good job. That organization has been pretty strong for a long time, and it seems like they're evolving and building, and it's pretty rare that a youth program has their own field and own setup. A lot of times they will have to use a town shared field or a rec field or whatnot. So you look at like the West Warwick Steelers. They have their own practice facility, but they use West Warwick High School for most of their home games. Whereas Pee Wee football has their own facility, which is pretty rare, I think, in this day and age. But that's because it's such a established program and such a powerful program. So kudos to them. Not easy to do.
And there's a great story behind that. We're gonna get Joe Vaca pretty soon to come and lay down the history of the Westerly Pee Wee football. But that story, it's a pretty cool story, especially coming from, if people enjoy a football town story, how that field got started, how it was the farm, and there wasn't much use for that, but now it's a great football field, and thousands of kids played on it.
Yeah, it's a nice facility for sure.
So here we go, man. You're going into another season. I was telling people your over under was like 35 this year, but you went to 37 Rhode Island football players, man, and that's definitely got to be an NCAA record. Is there another school, do you think, that has that many kids from one state?
Not that many Rhode Island kids. I would say Rhodey probably. I'd have to go look at the roster where they've come in. They're probably in the upper 20s for sure. They got a good chunk of Rhode Island kids as well. Between us and them, we have our two schools have the most, definitely. When I played at Salve for Tim Cohen, Coach Cohen, Liam's father, we had a lot back then too. I don't think we had as many as 37. I'd have to go back and look. We probably were high 20s, low 30s though. So this is pretty high, and we're not trying to stockpile numbers. Like, that's not really the goal. It just kind of worked out that way where we had a lot of Rhode Island kids. I mean, we recruit Rhode Island very aggressively. I'm extremely loyal to Rhode Island kids, but we're going to pick the best kids no matter where they come from. We just had a lot of success with Rhode Island kids because it seems like they fit our system, and I think it's a good home for them. But I tell kids all the time, sometimes it's not a good home. You got to find your fit, and at the end of the day, everybody has their fit, whatever that is. So for us, our guys, we target and then try to yield. More times than not, we're more right than wrong. So for us, a lot of people don't realize our methodology. Some people say, "Oh, why are you grabbing that kid, or why are you grabbing this kid?" And there's reasons and rationales, and that's kind of proprietary information. So I'm not going to really disclose that how we do business deep. But it works. It was started in 2014 when I first got there, and it took years to build. In 2014, we had no Rhode Island kids in the roster at all. 2015, we only had a couple, and then it started to build. So it took a while to build this, so it didn't happen overnight. Once we started yielding more of them and yielding more high-end quality Rhode Island players, the production started to happen, and then inadvertently more wins happened over the years. Our biggest issue over the years has been, realizing we need more depth than we thought we did, and then also managing the roster where it's not easy to keep everybody happy. Everybody wants to be the guy. So, you got to find the right kid that's willing to build for the team, and obviously they're part of the machine, but it can't be all just about them, So you got to be a very unselfish player to play here, because it's not about one kid's touches or receptions or yards. It's about the team. So, people always ask me, "Oh, don't you want to have the best stats for one back or whatnot?" And that's not our deal. I remember hearing a Nick Saban quote. It's really very real in the sense that stats are for losers, wins are for champions, right? So what he meant by that was that we use stats as a measuring point for analytics, and that's not what he meant. What he meant was, if you care more about your personal stats than winning, then you don't care about winning. So, and you don't care about the team. So, we kind of feed that into our roster, and we've gotten, I would say, 99% of our roster live that mantra 100% of the time. So that's produced a lot of young kids getting reps, and it's produced a lot of success. So we're going to kind of continue to build on that. So, there's a lot of kids we got coming in that really could push the play right away, if not soon after. And we're never going to put a kid in a situation that they're not good at yet. So it's kind of a Bill Belichick theoretical, where we don't ever ask a kid, or don't try to ask a kid to do something in a game that he's not ready to do yet. But what we'll do is figure out what that kid's things they do very well, and try to utilize that in certain personnel groupings or certain looks, and get them out there and utilize that one skill they do really well, and then over time build on the other skills to build that out. So, and that's the way to do it.
And it seems to work for you guys.
Yeah, in 2019, the year before COVID, we were 7-3, and what happened was we had lost our All-American quarterback Stephen Gachuk to an injury in the WestCon game. At that point, we were really humming, and when he went down, we really didn't have an answer, a proven answer behind him. So we looked at we did a deep dive looking at that, and said, well, we need to bring in multiple high-end quarterbacks to have an answer for that. God forbid he went down again. So we were looking all over Southern New England. We were looking at a region for the right guy or guys. And, inadvertently, that's how we found Dante Villalobos. We felt he could do a lot of things a lot of guys couldn't do. We felt that when we saw him play, for example, Hendricken, he played really well under duress against them and gave them a lot of issues because he's very athletic. So we said, well, we can take this kid and build on him. He's got a really good base, and he's very driven. So, and he kind of has a unique semi-Tom Brady type story, where Cumberland had multiple good athletes that could play quarterback at the time. And they had a kid, Joe Leonard, who was a year ahead of him in school. When Dante was a junior, the Leonard kid was a senior. Or Ryan Leonard, I'm sorry. So, and he was a good quarterback too. So they were always trying to play the Leonard kid because they thought he was a little bit better quarterback, so to speak, I guess, or whatever the rationale was. I don't really know. And so he always had to fight to be the guy. So it kind of drove him. It gave him that chip on his shoulder, kind of like Tom Brady in college with the Drew Henson situation. So I looked at that as a positive, where the kid could handle duress and keep being positive, being a good leader, and keep being productive. So when we brought him in here, we said, well, I think this kid over time will be really good. So he was here during the COVID year, but we didn't play football, so everybody got a blanket waiver by the NCAA. So the good is he really learned a lot from Steven that offseason. And then, week one, Dante's first real playing season, Steven is, the starter against Husson. He goes down with a career-ending injury. He was pretty much out of eligibility at that point. Dante slides in the game, and he made some mistakes, but he played well. And so, he made 2 big-time throws to win the game against a very tough Husson team that's big, and Husson has a lot of Division I transfers on the line, and they had an all-conference D-end and really strong front. So, he got a lot thrown at him that game that, most kids would have crumbled under that pressure because it was opening day at their place, and the place was packed, and it was like 80-something degrees and really hot and humid. But he played really well, and he won us the game. And then the very next game, he did well again. So, and then obviously had a great freshman first year, conference rookie of the year, won the Golden Helmet, which is really hard to do for anyone, much less win it as a freshman. We thought, looking back at the season, he could have won it a couple times. He got kind of shafted by the sports writers on that, but that's just my opinion. The Dean game week 2, what people don't realize, if you go back and look at the film, he connected on 3 vertical touchdowns in the first play of the first 3 drives. So, which is that's really impressive. So, I mean, to do that, to have over 150 yards passing the first 3 plays of the game, 3 separate touchdowns is impressive. So, so he had a good freshman year, and we're going to build on it further. So, we brought a kid like Dante in because we knew we need to have a kid like him. We don't have him, we don't win that bowl game. We don't win all those games. It's facts. Because we went through that in 2019, where when the guy at the helm went down, the wheels fell off, so to speak, as far as where we were at production-wise. So and that's why we brought in the class we did this year behind him in that quarterback room. So there's going to be a lot of good guys in that room. We've never had this type of depth in that room, which is impressive. And 2 of the quarterbacks coming in this class are the numerous ones we had to bring in because we only had Dante returning. 2 of them had Division I offers, and they chose here. And there's different factors why they chose here, but one was a 3-star kid, a multi-year starter at a team that put up 70 points more than 2 times last fall. The other one, when the Class L state championship, was a multi-year starter, was to be highly recruited. COVID in the portal is what kind of hurt his recruiting on the back end. So both high-end kids, both very good quarterbacks, just like Dante. And the good of that is that there's other cats also come in that room that are also really good. So, there's a quarterback at a Master bringing in as a stud, brilliant kid. There's a quarterback in New Hampshire bringing in a stud. Got another quarterback coming from Connecticut. So that room is really good. So right now we feel that's the most depth we've had in probably school history in that quarterback room. So hopefully it works the way we think it will. And, we can really have ultra success next year, this fall. So
it's crazy. Have you guys released the names of this upcoming class yet?
We have not. We're planning to do that soon in a big media blitz. We're actually working on that right now behind the scenes with our sports information director. So it'll come out on social media within the next week or so because we were trying to finish up a couple transfers. So, but we've got a multiple Division I transfers coming here. Some are already here. A couple of Division II scholarship transfers. So we plan to be in the right trajectory, so to speak.
Coach, we're going to bring in Coach Wes Pennington. I told him if you want to come on and ask you something. Before we do that, I always remind people, guys watching, definitely buy Wes's Coach Pennington's book on Through the Smoker, What Barbecue Can Teach You, How God Prepares a Man. We should support each other. What's up, Coach?
What's happening?
All right. Not bad. of course, Ryan, Coach McCormack up at UMass Dartmouth.
Yeah.
You know, anything you want to ask the coach or talk to him about?
Yeah, Coach. How's the off-season workouts going for you guys?
Good. So all our returners are already on a workout. We haven't rolled out the workout with the incoming freshmen yet. So we just finally solidified all the guys. So we had just added all in the last week and a half. We had to add all our incoming new guys. We use an app called GroupMe, and it's used in the business world. It's a really good communication app. So we're going to start rolling out all that stuff soon. For the young kids, because it'll be a little overwhelming. The young freshmen and transfers keep asking us, "Oh, when are we getting this? When are we getting that?" And I keep telling them, "Enjoy your precious time now, because it's about to be completely taken over." So, I think they're gonna realize that it's a little bit different than high school. So, so it will be eye opening for these young cats, but it's good.
Nice. Who are you looking to? What's your tough opponent on your schedule?
Well, the team that always wins our league, we were runners up in the league in the conference, is Framingham. So, they're always really good. They have, over the years, every year, have gotten Division I transfers. They've gotten a lot of bounce back kids that go Division I, then leave Division I for different reasons, either academic or social or whatnot, and then they're out of college for a couple of years and they end up at that place. So they're older guys, and some of these guys are 22, 23 years old, or maybe a hair older even, at Framingham. So they got a bunch of those type of cats. So they're good. I mean, they've won the conference, I think, 7 of the last 9 years. So I think it's, in 19, we had them on the ropes and we let them slip away. We lost by 3 this year. We had some mistakes that led to them beating us, but they also have a defensive end that's now in the NFL. I mean, they have a kid, Josh, was their captain, 5th-year senior, and he signed with the Seattle Seahawks, and he made it through minicamp. So, I mean, and still with them. So, I mean, somebody asked me the other day, "Oh, do you think you can beat them?" I said, "Well, I'm much more confident now because they don't have an NFL DN playing DN for them." So, I mean, there's many Division I schools here in the Northeast that didn't have an NFL DN get signed. I mean, BC, nope. Syracuse, nope. All the CAA teams in New England, not many. So, I mean, it's not easy to have an NFL DN, much less stop them or play against them. So, that's a different animal. So, my conversation to one of their former assistants, who's now at Division I, said, "Oh, you didn't beat the black and gold last year." I said, "Yeah, and we also didn't have an NFL DN." So, my philosophy is that we did a decent job blocking him, but he also made some plays because he's that good. So it wasn't the only reason, but he was a big factor to their success on defense. So, we think we match up very well with them, and we'll see. I mean, they're coming to our place. They haven't come to our place in a while. So our place is a pretty hard place to play because, we were undefeated at home last year. It's a great environment. The place gets packed. So our kids play really well at home. So, we have some of our toughest opponents at home at UMass this fall. So we feel it'll be a good advantage for us. So we'll see. I mean, I think we can win them all, but I'm also realistic of the fact that we got to be healthy and we got to be doing the right things day to day to win all those games. There's no easy games in college football. So, but I think, they're really good. So in conference, I think they're the best team, or historically has been the best team, but there's other teams too that are tough. Our conference is no easy game. So the MASCAC is like a war every week. So, there's the team, anyone can beat anyone usually. So, Bridgewater's good. They've always been good. They're physical. WestCon's good. Again, another physical team. Mass Maritime's very disciplined because they're a paramilitary type of school. They get those type of kids. So, Mass Maritime usually doesn't have the best athletes across the board. What they do have is the best grinders. They're very physical. They're very disciplined. If you make a mistake, they make you pay type stuff.
Hey,
So
Coach.
they're always tough.
Coach,
So
Coach,
those teams in the conference, those teams specifically are good. So
Coach, are you going to WestCon or are they coming to you?
they come to us. So WestCon comes to us. Framingham comes to us. Bridgewater comes to us. Westfield comes to us, and Husson comes to us. Husson's non-league. So we open up the season with Husson, who's really big on the line. So they're one of the biggest. We're as big as them, if not bigger, but they're big. So, they're 300 plus across the front on offense, and they're pretty close to that on defense. And they get a lot of bounce back UMaine kids, and they get a lot of bounce back Division I kids from out of state, from the state that come back home to Maine. So they have that advantage. They get those kids. So we've beaten them the last couple of years, but hasn't been easy. So, but we're happy to have them home. I mean, that was a 6-hour ride, and Bangor made to play them last year, and I didn't realize how far that was till I actually drove it. So,
Coach, you gotta give me tickets to the WestCon game.
All right.
I went there. I went there for a few seasons before I went to URI.
Oh, all right. Nice. Yeah, they didn't have the stadium they have now. WestCon's got a huge stadium now. It's so different.
Yeah, they don't have the state. Didn't have the stat stadium there now for sure. But we were pretty good when I went there.
Yeah, they're always good. They're never bad. I mean, I never see a 2-3 win WestCon team. They're always above 500 usually. So they're tough. They're not easy. Again, like I said, I could rattle off 5 other teams in the league that are really tough. Even though other ones that aren't overly tough, they can give you problems. So they have athletes. I mean, the one thing about the mascot, it seems like everybody has a couple ex-D1 kids in everybody's roster. Some have more than others. I think we right now probably will have the most other than Framingham. That not only were on Division I teams, but actually played. So we're excited about that. I mean, to me, we return 90% of the core nucleus of our roster, and we infuse a bunch of really good young freshmen and a bunch of high-end ex-scholarship transfers from Division I. And so most of them played Division I. So, we're on the field. So there's different reasons they're coming here, but I think some come here because they see it as a good school academically and they want to win, and we're in an upward trajectory right now.
I have a question for you. If I'm a senior going in for my
Mikey,
senior season,
hold on one second, Coach Pennington. How do I raise the volume on my phone in this? Because my volume's up all the way, but I can barely hear you guys.
Let me
see.
That's why it's best if you have sometimes if you have headphones or something, or AirPods or.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, I just fixed it.
you got it?
Yep.
Oh, he just fixed it. Now he's gone.
He'll definitely be back. But definitely a great recruiter, does a lot of great things for Rhode Island football. 37 Rhode Island football players. We'll get them back up in here. Coach McCormack, we talking to right now. Coach Fortin said, first you have Matt Kessler says, best recruiter of Rhode Island talent by far. Coach Fortin said, 2 very good coaches right there. And Bob Charadio, Ryan does a heck of a job. Ryan definitely does a very good job. He's always at the camps, and like I said, you can always count on Ryan to be at one of these Friday night lights game. And sometimes magically he appears at 2 or 3 of them. I don't know how he does it, but
well, that's my for either the coaches to relay this, or if there are senior athletes out there watching. If I'm a senior football player coming into my season, my senior year, how do I get your attention?
One, I'm going to always ask them about transcripts. So our schemes aren't easy to learn. So our offense coordinator, our schemes are from 2 major worlds of thought. So our OC is really close to a guy named Nolan Mazzoni. He used to be at UCLA. He's been around the horn in major college football, big zone read tempo guy. So that's part of a basis of our offense, that philosophical. The other part is the Baylor stuff. So So if you look at our offense, what we do, it's everything's one word concepts, but there's things off of it. So it's a lot to learn within that concept. So we're a concept based offense, so it's very different than what kids are used to. And a lot of coaches will say, well, we run a concept based offense. And I say, well, let me sit you down and show you what we do. And then they come back to me and go, well, that's not what we do. I'm like, I know. It's a lot to learn. So the mental piece means you have to be academically locked in to do our offense from a mental standpoint. So what that translates back to is school. So like if you're not, into school and learning, you're going to struggle in our offense because you can't go fast if you don't know what you're doing. So, first thing I tell people, you got to have good grades. You can't be like just skating by. And we have a philosophy, we don't want kids getting F's ever. That's never a good thing. And we tell them C's and D's don't get degrees. So that's how we roll. So, we want kids that mostly all A's and B's. And we're a top 10% ranked school. So, for our academics, it's not easy to get in our school. We do have a program called College Now, which is an alternative admissions program. We do use it on a handful of kids a year, but the very, very, very selected handpicked kids. They're using kids that we feel over a 4-year span could build out to be very, very good, way beyond where they're at. And also, we also use it on borderline Division I non-qualifiers. What that means is that for FBS, for example, and FCS, if you don't have a 2-3 core, and let's say you're a 2-2, we might take a gamble on that kid because he can't go Division I. He either has to go JUCO or prep for a year, depending on what his grade situation looks like on his transcripts. So we may take a gamble on that kid and give him a slot, so to speak. But it depends. It's a very specific kid we think can actually make it academically with the proper supports, and then also be able to buy into our system. So, we don't just hand these out to everybody. We really hand select these kids, and we have some really good ones coming in. I mean, so everyone that's gotten that opportunity, it's like I call it the golden ticket. So we used it on a bunch of Rhode Island kids this class, a couple Connecticut. We used it on a kid at Tennessee. So, we don't have a lot of them, but usually 9 times out of 10 they do well, and they do big things on the field afterwards. So that helps. But yeah, grades are big. I mean, a big red flag to me is if you're not getting an A or B in phys ed, that tells me your major character issues. Because if you're a college athlete, and you're going to be striving to be a college athlete, you should be dressing for phys ed. You should have good character. You should be a leader. You should be doing what that teacher asks you. Because from a day-to-day, it's pretty simple request from that teacher. So if you're getting C's, D's, and F's in phys ed, that's a red flag that you don't have the character to be on a roster. So that's an automatic red flag. There's other classes too. If you're not doing your senior project or you're dragging your feet, I see weird notations on the transcript that tells me you're a major procrastinator, and that's not a good sign to us. So sometimes we may back off from that kid. I look at kids going to camps, and everybody says, I always hear about kids from Rhode Island say, I just want an opportunity. I said, well, your opportunity is to get in front of people's eyes and go to camp. So I was at the URI campus against coach last Thursday, and there was a good number of Rhode Island kids there, not a crazy number, but there was only 75 kids at the camp. And, there was 30 other colleges represented between Division II, Division I, and Division III. Along with URI staff, and they were hosting it. They did a really good job. It really bothered me because I was like, there's like 20-something, 30 Rhode Island kids here. There should be like 100 plus, because not only you showcasing your stuff in front of URI, Donnie Brown's staff was there from UMass Amherst, Central Connecticut was there, another Division I program. Bryant was there. I mean, everybody was there. So it's like, well, why aren't you here as the athlete? It's down the street. So, what else are you doing on a Thursday early, late afternoon, early evening? I mean, it was great. Kids got great reps in. They learned a lot, the kids that were there, and a couple of kids got offered that were there. And then the other thing they I thought Rhodey did a good job of was they started asking our opinion that recruit the guys that recruit around heavy, that have had success, and say, hey, what do you think of this kid? What do you think of that kid? And kids that were there, and I think some of my recommendations and some other coaches filtered into their decision. Obviously, they're really smart guys, and they have really done a good job the last 2 years, kind of building that program back up to being very competitive. And I think they're going to take another step themselves in their league. I think don't be surprised they win the CAA this fall. It's like, well, we don't be surprised we win the MASCAC. So, and some of the kids that did come got offers. And I thought that was great. They didn't have those offers before. Coaches want to see players in person, putting them in drills that mimic what their day-to-day would be at that university. So, and it was, one kid from New Jersey, for example, went to the camp, didn't run his 40, said, I had a pulled hamstring or whatever he claimed he had. But then as the camp went on, he did indie period, which wasn't overly taxing on his body. But then they went into one-on-ones. And the kid obviously sees all these kids like having success one-on-ones and jumps in and competes and does a good job. But they weren't going to offer him without showing what his 40 is. Because a tailback, you got to have a good 40. So you can't be slow. So you have acceleration. So, he did well in the drills, but the one thing he didn't do, for whatever reason, was not run the 40. And if he really had a pulled hamstring, he would have hurt himself for sure in a one-on-one drill, because that's a stop-and-go explosive drill. So, you definitely have a hamstring pull. You're pulling it again, for sure. So that was kind of like wild to me. Like, why would you come if you're not going to do a certain thing? Makes no sense to me. And so that young man did not get an offer from anyone that day. Because they wanted, especially at running back or wideout or DB or outside backer or safety, we want to know what the kid's 40 is, because that position is built on explosiveness, speed. In this day and age, if you don't move well and you're not flexible and you're not in good health, it's hard to play college football. The big heavy kid that can't move, that situation is gone now. Even the linemen have to be able to move. So it's just different.
How often do other colleges reach out to you about Rhode Island kids, because you have such a
So we joke around. Obviously Rhodey has a couple guys from Rhode Island on their staff. Mike Flanagan is their associate head coach now, and he oversees their recruiting coordinator. So he's a Rhode Island guy. You play at Bishop Hendricken. So, but he always jokes around me because he calls me the Rhode Island guy. So at UMass Dartmouth. So yeah, I got friends at multiple staffs. UConn. There was a kid this weekend 2 weekends ago, from St. Thomas More. He was a Connecticut kid, and he was at the prep school, and he did really well. And what happened was, somehow on the master final list that got sent out, handed out to coaches, his stuff wasn't on there. That happened. They had a massive camp. There was like 600 something kids there, and I had him in drills in the testing periods. I was helping out big time with their testing. And I was doing all the 40s. I was doing all the pro agilities. I was doing the vert, the broad jump, all that stuff. So this young man had an amazing 40. He ran like a 4.39, which is like moving. There's not too many kids in the world that run that and coming out of high school. So, and he literally, he was a defensive back, and he never got beat in a one-on-one drill. It was amazing, actually. And so the next day, I reached out to their recruiting coordinator. I thanked him because their recruiting coordinator does a really good job at UConn, really good coach. And then I saw his name was, hey, is this kid on your list? And he had, obviously his coach was there and videoed these drills and videoed his 40, and you could see, what he ran from the cards. And I said, hey, I know this kid was there, but I don't see him on the master list. So he's like, oh my God, I didn't realize we didn't put him on the list. So, they put him on the list, and right away, obviously, they're reviewing that list over the next coming weeks. And the next day, they offered the kid. But what kind of happened by accident, really, was that he wasn't really highly on the radar yet when they met right after the camp, because he wasn't on the master list. But kudos to that kid, because then after that camp, he got 4 more FBS offers. So, I have friends at Holy Cross. I have friends at Rhodey. Friends of Brian. Like we all talk about kids, even though we're at different levels. Like there's a rule for Division I, they can only do 10 camps a year, 10 days of camps a year. So those Division I coaches have like rules on how many camps they can do. So like The Division II and Division III guys, we can do unlimited camps. There's no rule. So we do it for two reasons. We do it, one, to see the talent, evaluate kids, and network with kids. We also do it to learn from other coaches and see how they do best practices, both in drill design and how they run a camp and testing design, and what's best practice, and it's really smart coaching. So I tell any high school coach, if you can take a kid to a camp, especially a Division I camp, it's worth it, because you get to see how they do business, and kind of you may learn some things. It's almost as good as going to a clinic. You can see a drill you may like and say, "Hey, I'm going to email that coach after, and they'll send you the drill design, and you can now implement that drill in your own practice plan." So, yeah, they ask us all the time. I mean, literally, people ask me all the time, who do I think from my evaluation, to see a lot of high school games here in Rhode Island, and also my other recruiting areas. But Rhode Island, we hit pretty hard. Yeah, they ask, and I also will tell them, kids, in my opinion, you should stay away from. Not just my opinion, but I hear some crazy things at high school games, and I see some crazy things, and say, well, I don't know if you want to deal with that. So, and so it's a big network. We're all doing the same deal. We're all running around trying to recruit kids, and try to see as many good kids and try to build relationships, and hopefully, the kids want to come to our school. There's many times we don't have certain majors other schools have, and we don't have phys ed at UMass Dartmouth. It's just not a major we have. So I'll refer that kid to Bridgewater State, or I'll refer that kid to Springfield College, which is another big phys ed school, or physical therapy type school. I'll refer him to Southern Connecticut. I have a good relationship with that staff. I'll refer him to Rhodey if they're good enough to play at Rhodey. Though they usually have a pretty good handle, for the most part, of the kids in Rhode Island. But part of the thing that I feel that kids don't get, sometimes they don't get offered by them, is because they don't go to their camp. And I was like, you got to go be seen in front of them. And I don't really blame them, because, with Division I scholarships, they have a blank check to recruit anyone they want across the country. Literally, it's like going shopping for a car. You're going to go buy the best car you want. You may not like options in one, so you go buy another one. So, and that's just kind of how it is. So, I tell kids, you got to go to camps. You got to go to the camps, the schools you want to play at, potentially. And the other thing is, it's hard to get another Division I offer if you don't get offered by your home state flagship institution. Well, so you got to go to their camp. So, when I see kids just not go to their camp and then go to Rutgers camp, I'm like, well, yeah, you may get offered. The first thing I'm gonna think about is, why didn't you get offered at your home state? So, because it's an SCS school. So, I tell people, do camps both close to home, and also, do some big ones if you want far away. But with the current gas prices, I don't know if I would be driving all over Guam as a kid. So they don't have a budget.
Yeah, gas prices are crazy, and you have to budget that. Coach, anything else for Coach McCormack?
No, actually, I gotta get going, guys. But Coach McCormack, is awesome seeing you. I hope to see you this season at a couple of our games. I think I have a couple of guys that you really like to take a look at.
Yeah, I literally will be. I try to see every high school multiple times throughout the year in person. So in Rhode Island, so there's very few teams I don't see in a calendar year play in person. I try to definitely see everybody. And that's why I try to go. Sometimes I try to stack games. I look at the times, the start times. Like last fall, there's a couple times games were starting a little bit early because of Triple E, right? And so there was one Friday night I got to see 3 games in one night. I saw a 4:00 game, a 5:30 game, and a 7:00 game. I didn't see the whole game, but I saw at least almost half each game, what I needed to see as far as analysis. It was good. I probably saw last fall probably 40-something, 50 high school games in person. So it's a lot. So including playoffs, What was the question?
Yeah, I said, it was like you should have something. I ended up posting this to Son. He said that's not the page any longer. So No, it's all good. But Cliff Orton did say, how exciting is it knowing you're going to be back on the sideline shortly?
Literally, when what drives me in recruiting is building the utopian puzzle. So every time I get the right kid to put in the room, I feel it further incites me because I know we already have, and I know what our kids that we already have are doing in the weight room, and feel work to get better themselves. So our philosophy, but I also am cognizant of everybody else is working to get better too. So for us, I mean, I'm very excited. I think this will be if all the things stars align, we work the way we need to. It could be a pretty fun fall here in UMass Dartmouth. So that's the plan, at least.
Yeah, Rhode Island high school football is going to be here before you know it. Any games you're excited to get to watch? We know you'll see them all, but any matchups you look forward to?
I haven't gone back over the full schedule yet, but I mean everybody in Rhode Island wants to see the Henriksen and LaSalle game because it's a big rivalry game, and they both have a lot of talent. I mean, I'm interested to see what Wesley looks like. I'm interested to see what Narragansett looks like. They still have some serious good players coming back. It's gonna be interesting with there's some new coaches this year for new programs. Not new to coaching high school football, but they have a new program.
Yeah, Situate. We have a 26-year vet over at Situate on Damon Scanuzio coming in with Coach Camp a long time ago. He's been around a long time.
I mean, Situate's got a new coach. Pano's going up to D3. I think they'll be very competitive up there. I mean, everybody questioned. I mean, I give you an example. Like Burville's always good, right? And Burville literally year after year just moved up every year, was successful every year, every level they went through. And they were always graduating kids, but it was like next man up. They always had like the next class of dudes. And we have a bunch of Burville kids on our roster, and they're all really good. So I think they're always competitive and fun to watch. I mean, Barrington has been very much better the last couple of years. I actually had their younger quarterback at a camp. Recently, he did very well. So I think Barrington has some serious young good gems. There's always good players in the island, Critic Island. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in Rhode Island. So, I mean, I'm intrigued to see what happens down in Chariho. I mean, their coach left to come be an assistant in our league at Worcester State. I'll be interested to see what that team looks like with a whole new coaching staff. I mean, I don't know who it is.
As of right now, I heard from a parent that said his son came home and said that they was told there'll be no summer program over there at Chariho. So it looks like they'll take the field August, whenever the first day of football is, August, whatever it is. But that could be bad because that is how you get hurt.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, excuse me. I don't know who's even applied for the job. I haven't heard any names. Very quiet.
Just to let people know, I was getting football texts at 4 a.m. from Coach McCormack. So he was up working already at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I kind of get up early. So,
there's nothing going on at Chariho. And I'm hoping that maybe some assistants would step up. But I hope they hire somebody very, very soon.
Yeah, they really have to hire somebody before the line. I mean, they're kind of behind the 8 ball right now, but timeline-wise. But the biggest thing is they gotta implement an offense and a defense and what they're gonna do at specials. So I don't know what their game plan is. I don't know if they have somebody in mind or if somebody's in their pool of applicants. I don't know. It's a big school. They have a large enrollment. So, I mean, and they pull from 3 towns, plus their VOTEC kids that come from out of district. So, they have the potential to be good. I mean, so we'll see. There's a new coach at EWG. He left Tollgate to go to EWG. And so I don't know what they're going to run schematically. I would assume similar stuff to Tollgate because my understanding it's, the same head coach and OC from Tollgate. So, so I would assume they're going to run similar stuff that they ran there. Tollgate's got a new coach. He was a college coach forever, literally, Jim Maselli, and he's a really good coach, and he's got a lot of experience. So we'll see. I mean, at one point way back in his career, he had coached a little bit of high school, I think in like the early 80s. But he was a college coach forever. So, we'll see how that goes, what he's going to run for a scheme and who he's going to hire for staff. So, I mean, it's really, Pilgrim's going to be good. Blake's done a great job there.
Congratulations. Blake just won a lacrosse championship. He's at the Celtics game right now. I tried to get him on with you, but he got tickets to the Celtics game. But congratulations to him. He's making history over there at Pilgrim.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a good job. We got 2 of his cats coming in. They're really good players. And he's got a good program. I had a bunch of his kids at the roadie camp, some younger kids that are really put together. And I was like, whoa, I think they looked older than they were. They were good condition, good, good physical abilities, really good players. So, seeing those kids, again, I didn't know a lot about those young kids. I knew they were pretty good. Then I had them at a camp. They were real good. So I was like, whoa. That's why they should go to a camp. So, I think he's got the right modality of what he's doing, and he's got the right coaches, assistants. I think he's going to be very good for a long time. I think they're going to be always in the conversation of competing for a title in their division. So, kudos to him, and his winning ways has transitioned over to his lacrosse head coaching skills as well. So it doesn't surprise me by any stretch of imagination.
Mike Washington, another coach that won another state championship this weekend. Congratulations to him. Love him or hate him. I said earlier, he's doing good things at Central. Yeah,
I mean, years ago, a long time ago, the mantra was when you recruited Central, a lot of the kids had bad grades. That is not the case now. A lot of the kids have good grades. So, they produce some really good student athletes the last, handful of years, and the majority of their kids have good grades now, which is very, very good. So obviously that's him as a head coach and his staff properly directing the kids academically. So that's huge. And so you're seeing that attention to detail transition to wins on the field and also putting kids into college. So, they put kids all over the map in the last couple of years. So, which is good, all levels of college football. So the program continues to grow and get better. And I think it's nice that they have PCTA, which is I call it the driveway. It's really technically a road, but it's not, up there in Providence between Central and the PCTA building. It's nice to have the PCTA kids too as part of his roster. It's right there. It makes sense. And so they have that beautiful indoor facility. They can do track in, they can run the track in, they can do stuff in. So that field house is really nice. It's a nice gem of a building. It's one of the nicest indoor tracks probably in Southern New England. That's not a college. So for them, that's a great thing to have. Their practice field is right behind that building. So I've visited practice once or twice, and they've really done a good job up there at Central. So, I mean, people always ask about the Central kids. Hey, have you seen this kid? Have you seen that kid? In your camp travels from other coaches from Division I on down. So, and one of his kids who did a good job, ran I'd have to look at the numbers. I have the data, but, ran a 4.5 something 40, then a low 4.6 at their camp, and did really well in drills and got an offer from Rhodey, which was nice to see for a round kid. They're good. I mean, there's a lot of good teams for Island. Some of the teams will struggle, and we'll see how that goes. I tell people all the time, in the 80s and 90s, a lot of coaches would come, they'd start their summer lifting, and then they would, go into preseason and have their season would end, and, Christmas would come and they would kind of like semi-check out. I think pretty much those days are gone. You go around the country and everybody's doing something football related year round. People doing 7-on-7s, people are doing, year round lifting, people doing year round conditioning and training. And I'm not saying you can't play other sports, but you definitely should be doing something in strength conditioning and athletic training, and speed training too, to assist you in your development. So, I mean, everybody's doing that across the country now. I mean, there's some guys that just do lineman-specific training now, and that was never a thing when I was growing up. So, kudos to those guys doing that, So, I mean, I think, all those things are good pieces of the recruitment puzzle. I would say 7-on-7 definitely has its value. You look at 7-7 with like route running and like catching the ball and beating press man and angles and all that jazz. Like, so it definitely is a piece of the evaluation puzzle. I don't think it's the only piece. I mean, I remember there was a coach recently that mentioned they would never recruit off 7-7 film. And I think what that coach meant was, I think it was taken out of context. What he meant was he's not going to solely recruit off that. Now, every coach will use that as a piece of the puzzle, but we want to see game film in full pads. We want to see them at camps. We want to see multiple opportunities of competition, different facets to build your reason to offer that kid or not offer that kid. So I know that coach took a lot of heat for that, or was getting people. There's some rumblings, but I understood what he meant. I would never solely. Here's a key phrase: solely offer a kid off a 7-on-7. Now, I might see his film first and say, "Hey, this is a great kid." Then I see him in a 7-7 situation that further checks my box, so to speak. That yes, this kid's a great player because we saw it on film, and now we see it in a different context, but very applicable. And so 7-on-7, like I'll say this: if you're a skill guy, if you're not doing anything and you're not doing 7-on-7, then that's going to hurt you in your development because other kids are doing football-related drills and things to get better every day. So they definitely should be doing something on a consistent basis outside the traditional football season. And that's why colleges have spring ball. The reason we have spring ball is to further develop. And that's the thing. Like other states, they have spring ball. Down South Carolina, Florida, they have spring ball. And so the 7-on-7 thing, I think it's really good. I think you get to see some kids that have developed since the fall to the 7-on-7 season, and then you see further development into the next fall. So they're to the senior year. So, I've seen kids really get better in 7-7 because they're working on hand-eye coordination, catching balls, running routes, things of that nature. So, they're running, they're being athletic. So, I mean, it's definitely a good piece of the puzzle. I mean, if you're a skill guy, you're not doing some form of 7-7 to some consistency, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. So, it's like a basketball player shooting baskets. How do you get better? By doing. So, what's better than just shooting baskets at your house? Competing with other people. So, for me, it's definitely a good thing as a piece of the puzzle in recruiting, but not. I don't think anyone would solely, even though they offer a 7-on-7, let's say, they did other evaluations to get to that point. They saw high school film, game film. They saw them at camps in full pads. If they went to a full pad type of camp, they saw other things than just that. But that might have been the last thing they saw that really said, okay, we're offering them now. So it definitely has its value for sure.
All right, Coach, man. One last thing. If you could tell the kids for the class of 2023 that are looking to go to college, what would it be?
I would tell a kid a couple things. One, if your grades aren't great, make them great right away. You have to have grades. I mean, it's hard to get to a good place without grades. It limits your pool of schools that can look at you. If your grades are really bad, it pretty much limits all schools practically, other than like JUCO or prep. Number two, I would tell them, coach reaches out to you, show them love back because there's over 1 million high school football players. I can only pick so many. So, and I tell kids to let it play out. You might be talking to multiple schools from different levels, and let it play out. You never know what level you're going to end up at the end. What's going to be your best fit, so to speak. So I tell people all the time, definitely do that. And then the other big thing is, try to get your name out there, market yourself in a positive way, do good things in games, be a good teammate on the field and off, and stay out of trouble. I mean, it's really easy to get caught up in stupid stuff. So I tell people all the time, hey, don't give coaches a reason to have a but. Hey, we like this kid, but we like how he runs routes, but don't create buts for yourself. And the biggest thing, understand what's going on with the portal. I mean, I've had this conversation with multiple coaches at multiple camps from Division I down, that the portal and the extra COVID year has completely changed the landscape of college football. I mean, I know for a fact, talking to the guys at Rhodey, that they got multiple FBS kids looking at their program, their ex-FBS quarterbacks. They're seeking them out because they can't get out of the portal and go back to FBS. They know FBSs are taking them. So it's like a big trickle down. So, there's kids I think we have in our roster the last 2 classes that probably with no portal and no COVID year probably would have been Division I scholarship kids. But unfortunately, that's what's going on with college football. It's very tough on the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and and even running backs. I mean, there's and people got to understand that. So, you gotta, if you run the ball well but you can't catch, you got to work on your catching skills, because a lot of teams will want to throw the ball their backs in the backfield or have that ability to do so at least even once in a blue moon. So you got to be able to do that stuff at a camp. So if you're not doing that stuff, you got to work at it, and then lift year round. I mean, guys in the NBA, I always hear things where kids say, "Well, I'm a basketball player, so I don't lift during basketball season." And I'm going to tell you right now, all those guys in the NBA are lifting. I know that for a fact, because my dad's best friend in the world was a guy named Mel Davis, who's head of the Retired Players Association for the NBA, and I can definitively tell you all those guys lift year round. So they're in some sort of strength conditioning in the NBA. So that's a definite. So that weird mantra I hear sometimes is not real. So, as long as you're lifting consistently while also shooting consistently, your shot won't be thrown off, because you're building the muscle memory with the muscle mass. So, but I mean, and really reach out to coaches. I mean, I tell kids all the time, like, look at all schools, look at URI, look at us, look, if you got the grades, look at Brown. Brown's a great school, and they got a great staff. So, it's a top 10 school in the country. So, if not the world. So, I mean, there's a lot of good schools here in the Southern New England region that have great football and great programs and great academics, and do your homework and let it play out the end, because it's not easy to play college football. I mean, over 1 million people and a little over 600 schools in all of college football. So not a lot of spots. So, people are a little bit spoiled here in New England because we have a lot of the D2s and D3s are all in New England. The minute you leave the Northeast region, New England, New York, New Jersey, PA, New England, there's less schools. So you find it very quickly how hard it is to make those D2, D3 rosters out of region. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's a lot of schools here in New England. So people don't realize that until they leave the region.
All right, Coach McCormack, thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations to East Providence Tennis. They won a championship. Congratulations, East Providence Girls Lacrosse. Who else won? Central High School, they won the championship this weekend. I don't want to forget anybody. Blake Simpson, congratulations to him. North Smithfield, every sport made the playoffs in the school this calendar year. So congratulations to AD Tech over there doing his thing up at North Smithfield. And I'm sure we'll talk to Coach McCormack, but you can find him on social media at Ryan McCormack at everything, basically, right?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. So you pretty much use Twitter mainly for recruiting. And even on our website now has all our coaches' Twitters. So we actually had the SID add that this past week, because it's kind of easier sometimes for them to DM us on Twitter than even emailing us. It's much quicker. So yeah, I mean,
Coach Edwards said as well. Coach Edwards said you're better off just sending me a DM.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. It's very fast food mentality, so to speak. So I actually was asked by the American Football Coach Association about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago now, to write an article for them that will be coming out probably next month, sometime during July. And it was about how recruiting has changed the last 23 years, what it was like in the late 90s and what it is like now. And people will be shocked by this article because some of the information is probably not common knowledge. Some of it might be, but it's really kind of eye-opening, as a recruiting coordinator, how this has evolved. So, I mean, back in the day when I started doing this in the late 90s, we got VHS tapes that would come in the mail to the mail room, and we'd have these huge cabinets in our office back then at Salvo.
Meet me at the state line. I'll give you this tape. You give me.
That's how film exchange was with the teams. You either overnight mailed it or you met halfway on a really early Sunday morning to get the film. Now it's you push a button and huddle.
Instant.
Yeah.
Coach Martinez over at St. Ray said, make sure you come out to a couple of Saints games. That's mandatory. You already know that.
Yeah, we already have St. kids on the roster, and there's a bunch we have targeted already for the next couple classes. So we will definitely be at your games,
I love
Coach
the
Ray.
Saints the last 2 years. They had a great team.
Yeah, they still have a lot of key horses though. They got some cats, man. So it seems I've said this for years. St. Ray's may not have the enrollment that Henderson does because Henderson's a bigger school enrollment wise, but they always have every year 2 or 3 like absolute super dudes, and then they have like probably another 3 to 5 like really good college football players. But like they've produced so many Division I kids. You really think about it and do the year by year by year, it's like pretty impressive. So, and we've had them here, over the years, and they're really good players. So, and the kids who have come in this class, we think are really good players. So, that really could make an impact right away. So, for us, I mean, we've always had a close relationship getting kids out of Saints. So, we love the purple and gold kids. So it's no mistake. I mean, we have a kid on our roster who had to have a medical this year. He had knee surgery, but when he was a freshman, Pride Clark, he was a DB that single-handedly shut down the receivers against Westcon. So we missed him this year in secondary because the rest of our secondary was loaded. So he's back and he's healthy now and he's completely rehabbed and ready to go. So we're excited to have that young man back because he's a physical DB that can cover anyone man to man. So have a kid like that back, and he was all conference as a freshman with the other creatures we have back there. It's gonna be pretty fun. So I think we call it ATC, air traffic control, back there. So I don't think people will be throwing on that anytime soon. Just ask Alfred State, play one of the game on defense, we intercepted the ball. That kind of got the party started, so to speak. So, but yeah, so I mean, we've had a plethora. We had a kid, Kevin Gonzalez, years ago, was a great receiver here. One of their best players over the years that came here that really lit it up. So, I mean, St. Ray's has always been a place we will always recruit, always try to get kids out of. It's a good school too. So academically, the kids do well here because they did well in high school. So they're well prepared, but they have players all over college football. I mean, they had a kid from Central Connecticut this year who I thought was going to get picked up in the draft, and he didn't yet, but you never know. He might get picked up in the offseason now in free agency. You never know. A kid named Trevante Jones is a long, really athletic kid. So who's a stud for them at Central Connecticut Division I. So we'll see. But they have a lot of good cats out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, Coach McCormack, thank you like always, man. Big shout out to you. Reach Brian if you're looking to go to school next season, man, and get your film out there. Get on Twitter. Grades, right? You got to get grades. I think grades is like your credit report. So
yeah, grades is kind of a grade's a good barometer of like how much you care about getting things done. I mean, it's easy to recruit a kid with really good grades.
And help your parents out. Get better grades. The bill will be a little cheaper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Division III, we can't give out athletic scholarships, but we give out very good packages. A lot of times that packages are based on your grades. And obviously one factor is your need. But your grades can definitely pay for a lot, so to speak. So, if you got grades and need, where the formula works, that kid gets a lot of money. So we have a bunch of kids in this class that have amazing grades. They're getting very good packages. So, the 2 young men we have come from Saints have both got stellar packages, and so because they have great grades. So, so for us, that is definitely an important factor. And sometimes if they fit the right window, so to speak, in the formula for need-based scholarships and also academic merit money and academic scholarships, sometimes we're cheaper than some partial Division I offers. So it wouldn't be the first time that's happened, and won't be the last. So again, yeah, your grades are really important. If you don't have grades, it's very hard to go anywhere good. You're very limited your options. So and when you're limited options, the few schools that do recruit you will use that as leverage against you, giving you a better package. They'll be like, well, this is all you're getting. So I've seen that before in financial aid packages from opponents that we're recruiting against. But grades. URI's got 2 more camps the next 2 Thursdays. they should definitely go to that.
Get to them camps. I'm sure you can register online, right? There must be
Yeah.
some
I
registration.
mean, Brown's
open.
camps are coming up soon. You know, Holy Cross's camp's coming up soon. Yale's got camps coming up. Bryant's got camps coming up. You know, we're going to have a camp on July 23rd. We're still working on the build out, and we're going to get the marketing out there soon. We're going to have a bunch of guest coaches. You know, we're going to have Coach Edwards from Brown there representing Brown. So, you know, there's a bunch of great camps. There's a camp held at Nichols by a company called Clockton Athlete. It's a bunch of ex-college coaches, and there's the O-line coach for the Mass Pirates Arena team's going to be running it. You know, a couple of NFL guys. I'm doing a camp on Long Island in a couple weeks. Mike Devlin, the offensive line coach of the Baltimore Ravens, running it. It's a lineman-specific camp. It's going to be great. I'm the only one of 2 Division III coaches going to be there. It's all Division I coaches and NFL coaches running it. It's pretty wild. So,
sweet, definitely. Let me check these comments out. Of course, Sears. That's right. Shot. You know, we have a freshman over there. His son Matthias will be going over there, but we'll talk about that another time. But Coach McCormack, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Get to camps, everybody. We need more Rhode Island kids at camps. Bottom line, get them grades, get the camps. Coach, thank you. Talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Good night, Mikey.
All right. Coach McCormack, always willing to come on in and chop it up. Definitely, you have to get to them camps. He said, you know, he was very surprised with the amount of Rhode Island kids that were not at these camps, man. So, coaches, get your kids to these camps if they are serious about going to college, man. Yeah, it's always great. This is show number 2 this season, man. It's been awesome. Thank you, Coach McCormack. Really, really appreciate it. Big shout out to Breakthrough Football, everything that Breakthrough has going on, the podcast sponsor, man. I love everything that they're doing. Big 7 vs. 7 coming up at Conley, man. Big shout out to Potty Rock Limousine DJ Service. The Fed Hill Cookout was lit. Everyone that ended up attending that, man. We need to start listening to the youth a lot more, man. Big shout out to Mark Wright. And definitely go get a copy of Coach Pennington's new book, Through the Smoker. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Great show tonight. Can't wait to see the young Jones kid over there at Coventry High School. We'll talk about that. Maybe we'll bring him on. Gonna be a freshman going over there. The new Coventry Oakers program. We're going to have Gary Goodhart on very, very soon. Thank you, Coach Pennington, man. Shout out to you. But let's support each other. You already know we're always keeping it real, always keeping it authentic, and we always keeping it 100. Let me see what I have here for some videos. Check out Fed Hill, Alley Pone. Big shout out to Candyland Inflatables as well.
Get ready, it's coming. You hunting or you running? Get ready, get ready, get ready, ready. It's coming. It's coming.
What you're doing, I'm always following you, man. I know you out in Westerly, so we kind of stay close. So I'm seeing everything you're doing. I'm seeing the voice sports stuff and how they're kind of reaching really the nation. They're doing stuff all over the country. So if there's anybody voice sports that wants to tap into to this market in Rhode Island and New England, trying to expand a little bit, definitely hit me up, and you can get my info from Mikey.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If we didn't have all this crying, and you can't say there's not a lot of crying going on. We can't be competitive. We just can't do it. These young guys, they're working all year long. You got to
get ready. It's